What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. Probably my favorite word in the English language, integrity. And maybe it translates to everyone in different ways, but for me, it means you say what you do and you do what you say. Anything other than that explanation is just specific examples of how people acted without integrity. And no matter their details, what you felt the pinch of was a set expectation not matched. And who's at fault when that happens? Whoever set the expectation and failed to match it. And that can even be you with yourself, or you in a role you play in the outer world, or someone in their role with you. The misalignment this gap leaves is what you feel. And if you are sane in any way, I highly doubt you want to experience this feeling, which means you desire people and situations where what is sold is what is received. Who likes a bait and switch? And we're so jaded from the lack of integrity or the difference in quality from what was expected and what was received. We're so jaded, we're so used to that gap always being there, that when a company, a person, actually delivers on their promise, not even exceed it, but to just meet their promise, that rare occurrence just makes this outlier revered, deeply respected. Meaning, sadly, it is such a rare thing to experience receiving and getting what you are told you will get. And you receive what you are told you will receive. The bar is so low that all it takes in today's world is to simply stand for and deliver on what you promise, and then there is not a way that you won't be successful. It doesn't take any sort of genius today to be successful, to stand out. Just create alignment between your promise and your fulfillment. So, not only is it my favorite word in the English language, it's probably yours too. You just haven't realized it with this level of clarity. Because you desire integrity in everyone around you, unless you're crazy and prefer deception. And chances are, you've experienced it so little in your life that you actually crave it. Now, I titled this How to Not Be a Fraud, because literally, everyone out of integrity is a fraud to me. And sometimes I'm out of alignment myself on what I say and don't follow through on, and I feel like a fraud myself. And I'm not being dramatic and saying the word fraud as an exaggeration. Literally, when you claim to be something that you are not, and you are not that thing, it is forgery. You expect the benefits to be able to cash the check of that perception, except you are bankrupt in the follow-through and in your character. And that is what it means to be fraudulent. And I audit myself for this before I look at anyone else. So, to answer briefly how not to be a fraud, in simple few words, it would be to either become real careful and precise about the language you speak and what checks your mouth writes, so you just don't exaggerate at all and step out of what you will follow through on. Or, if you are going to write those checks with your mouth, work real hard to make sure your actions can cash those checks. And to not be a fraud, make sure there is no gap between the promise out of your mouth and what you can deliver on. And remember, this is literally 90% of what it takes to be successful today. That's all it takes to succeed today. And if we're being honest, integrity starts within. Principle doesn't usually go away all at once. It's a creeping erosion. You don't just wake up one day and find yourself out of integrity. You've probably been living this and failing on meeting what it is that you say for such a long time that you have found yourself and eroded to this place. It's either this is important to you and your life is then a gleaming example of what you set out to do and then actually gets done, or it isn't. And there is no place in the world you can hide this lapse, this gap in fulfillment. It's either it will show up in your face with the way you behave and in your confidence when you know you aren't all you claim to be, or if you're a sociopath and you can fake this and you can't see this in yourself, the world will know this about you and place you accordingly. And again, although it might not be your goal or priority, it's not something you can get away with for very long, especially if you are customer or client or world-facing at all. If you expect to have any relationships. I lived in a luxury building in California where a lot of influencers lived. And after living in a basement for 4 years in Queens, New York, all I wanted was high ceilings for my mind to breathe and think. So that meant I lived on the top floor of this building that had penthouse-style lofts. I had 20-foot ceilings, and that's really what I wanted. And because I lived on that floor, I had influencer neighbors. And my next-door neighbor was one of these young internet marketers who try and sell you a course every other day. And now I have no problem with the knowledge economy and selling digital products. But again, it's the way in which you do that that matters. So to tell you a quick story, one day I went into their apartment, and since they recorded a lot of videos in this apartment, they had a lot of different things up on the wall as a background. One of them was a wall of wisdom. They had different things written on this wall, like affirmations and slogans and goals and a list of numbered things that they thought were important. Things like execution, perseverance, resourcefulness, all of which these words had descriptions for and details on how to achieve. It was a wall of wisdom. Now, the ironic thing was, one of the things on the list on the wall was the word integrity. And unlike the other things that had follow-up descriptions and details, integrity was left blank, almost as if it was undiscovered, almost as if they had nothing to say about it. And I find it funny because in my personal judgment, not only do I not believe that what they were doing or selling was ethically right or done with integrity at all, and if you follow Baller Busters on Instagram, they have an entire section dedicated to this particular neighbor of mine, but again, that matters less in what the world knows. It's clear that they knew it too, which is the funny thing about integrity. When you write it, when you call on it, when you claim to be it, it makes your hands shake and your lips quiver when you pretend to have it. It's hard to fake. And again, no matter what the world thinks about you, how's that internal scorecard of yours going to treat you when you're older and alone by yourself? Or like I say, when you're driving alone in the car and it's just you in that rear view. What does that world look like to you? And maybe you think you'll be laughing all the way to the bank after being out of alignment and possibly screwing people over to get there. But I doubt that's an advisable strategy to a peaceful life. You can get rich that way, but I doubt you'll get wealthy screwing people over. This deficit will resurface and equalize somewhere in your life. But again, for me, what's most important for me is when I judge someone else, I first look at all the things that I'm out of integrity on with myself. I can spend a lifetime just correcting these things. So it matters very little what someone else is doing other than just using them as an example. And nothing upsets me more than when I talk to a friend of mine and they complain about someone else doing something or not doing something, and during the same conversation, they are guilty of the same flaw within themselves that they are complaining about in someone else. And if I call them out on it, it's immediate shutdown, I got it, and triggered ego. So it's like, just worry about yourself, man. you're guilty of the exact same thing. You know what they say about people in glass houses. Like we've talked about plenty of times before when it comes to judgment, the most useful part of judgment that you are externalizing onto others is that it's pointing to and helping you recognize how you yourself may be failing and falling short on those very things. That's why you can see it in someone else. And you know what they say, when you point a finger at someone else, there's 3 of your own fingers pointing right back at you. So scrutinize yourself 3 times as much as you do someone else. And if you did just that, chances are you'd have your hands busy with a lifetime of improvement and alignment to what it is that you claim you want for yourself and what it is that you are actually chasing and becoming. Actions speak louder than words, right? And if your actions don't match your words, you're either a fraud or playing a different game of deception and way more dangerous than I thought. Integrity is the shield to greed and vanity. When all else fails, what will define you is the measures by which you are willing to go and gain what you are after, that will govern and determine what you become and where you stand. That is what values are. It is a constraint by which you will achieve your goal. And the only shield you have to the dark side is the one you are willing to put on and stick to voluntarily. Your values are your shield. Integrity is your shield. Your success without integrity is short-lived. It will catch up to you. A thing that is bought or sold has no value unless it contains that which cannot be bought or sold. We all look for the priceless ingredient. And the priceless ingredient of each and every product or service in the marketplace is the honor and integrity of him who made it. We all consider his name before we buy. So the next time you minimize the consequences of your actions or the lack thereof, look at it through this lens. Ask yourself, what does it mean for my integrity? And if that doesn't kick you in the ass, then I don't know what to say. Stay true, my friends. Love you always.